Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Opinions New by Dr. Frank Ph.D. I'm Frank. In this episode, I want to offer my opinion about what's going on today in America. I call this the final assembly and attack of global communism. Why am I saying that? If you look at the past 6 months of this year, first half of this year, there's so many things happening, right? Big, small, it's more dramatic, more frequent than what happened in the years before, in the entire year. So many things happening. And every one of them is really pushing us further and further to test our on truth, on darkness versus brightness, right? And of course, there's George Floyd, being killed in Minnesota, and then there's a large-scale protest, riot, and then the sabotage, and the demand and destroy, and all not only in America but all over the world, in many other cities in the world. We have seen that the leftist forces, they're challenging our traditional conservative values. Right? And the communists, the remnants of the global communism, is really fighting hard, with their final blow. Right? And all those so-called proletariats, that worldwide, they're actually assembling, they're acting together, working together to, fight, the goodness and good people of the world. The whole thing started, of course, in Minnesota, right? And then it spread all over the world, all the American and all to the world. Yeah. But don't you feel that this kind of odd, right? In this country, let's not about China because we don't know the exact number of people dying from this pandemic, China's CCP virus and the Wuhan fever or the COVID-19, or whatever you call this, the pandemic, Wuhan pandemic, right? And I'm sure the number of people dying from Wuhan pandemic in China was in hundreds of thousands, not what China's government reported. But even in America, we have lost 110,000 people in America to this Wuhan pandemic, and it's far more than any other countries, except China. Right? We don't know the number of Chinese numbers. And all, if you look at the people or governments of the other countries worldwide, they're not really helping America. They're not really putting their efforts to trace the source of the pandemic and to investigate in what the Chinese government did during the spread of the pandemic. And nobody seemed to care about the cause, the root cause of the 110,000 people, Americans. But they only pay attention to one person dying under police brutality. Right? And then there's so many activities, and against the law, against the rule of law, against the order, against the government, and protests and the riots, and they destroyed our ancient relics, ancient history, and erase our history. And the thing is, someone is behind this, all this that's going on right now. I think it is a communism. It's the ideal communism. Right? Of course, the central figure here is George Floyd, right? Or in Chinese language, I actually wrote about this in Chinese language. They translate that as the same Chinese translation of Sigmund Freud, the famous Austrian psychologist. But that's in America, in English, of course, we know the difference. George Floyd versus Sigmund Freud, Freud or Floyd. Okay? But I have a little problem, issues with someone calling him American heroes. That's not American the heroes, American heroes that I have known of. Okay, I think that's not reasonable. Yeah. Mr. George Floyd, he was starting in 1998. He was charged and convicted for stealing weapons, selling drugs, and burglary, and even pointing the gun at the stomach of a pregnant woman to conduct his, burglary. And he was a criminal before, and he deserved to die. And I'm not saying that, okay? But this time, when he was under arrest, was for using fake money, right, probably from China, and also some dealing. Right? And it's unfortunate he was killed during the arrest while he was resisting his arrest. And I agree, these four police officers who used excessive force, you know, the policeman, Mr. Chauvin does not need to put his knee on George's neck for 8 minutes. Right? I condone those kind of excessive forces. Right? I believe so. So do most Americans, even our president. Yeah? But I think justice is being served in this country. We have found that these four policemen officers, they were fired from the position, and they were being prosecuted. They were under, the justice is served and is ongoing. Okay? So what should we do then? We should wait to see how justice is doing, and see how the court eventually rule, and how the police officers who did something wrong, will pay for this themselves or themselves. Okay, but at this time, America should reflect, sit back, reflect, and rethink, and think about what is causing that, and think about the true cost, real cost of this. Some people say it's a racism. I don't believe there's a systematic, institutionalized racism in this country. I'm Chinese American. I don't believe I never feel that being discriminated by anyone. Right? And I love my fellow Americans. I love Black people, white people, Asian people, everyone the same. Right? But this incident, I think, unfortunate incident, has become the feeding ground for anarchists, leftists, and communists. That's something not good. Okay? Looking at this, the slogans of the people here, Black Lives Matter. I agree, you can say that Black Lives Matter, but I would say I would prefer them saying, Black lives also matter. That would be even more nobler and better, because at least you have to recognize every ethnic group, including Black, white, Asian, whatever, Latinos. We have to respect other groups' lives, right? And also, we want to our lives, our existence to be, recognized and respected as well. Okay? So all lives matter, right? All lives matter, Black, white, or Asian, or Latinos. So if we say, all the lives matter, and then we say Black lives also matter, I think that'll be the better way to put it. We all agree with you, 100%. We can say all lives matter, and Chinese American lives matter also. Okay, but without, if we say that, then it's like we have compassion toward everyone, we have tolerance toward everyone, and everyone is equal. That's good. That'd be the great and ideal. That's good ones, right? But if we don't have that prerequisite, to acknowledging that all lives matter, and we just emphasize one group's lives matter, then are we implying that the one group's lives or its values are higher or above that of other groups? I don't think that's a good idea. Okay? I don't think that's a good idea. That's probably not correct. Okay? In fact, if you look at all those riots, burglarizing, open burglarizing of stores, Walmart, Target stores, sabotage public properties, and destroying ancient relics, historical records, and destroying our traditional culture. You look at all that, and when some people, I'm not saying all the black people are doing that, some people are forcing other groups, like white people, to knee on them, to apologize, to wash their feet for them. I think that is actually, you're actually putting yourself above that of other people. I don't think we should do that. Right? Nobody, no group should put your life above other people. Right? We know we condemn slavery. Yes, in slavery, you have masters over slaves. That's wrong, but that's abolished. We don't have a slavery in this country right now. Right? And in ancient times, all countries had slavery. In China too, right? Where I came from. Right? And in the past 10 days, there were six police officers who were also killed during the riot, when they were trying to protect innocent people. But I don't see any leftist group, saying that those lives of the six officers are also valuable. I haven't seen that, right? And also, I don't think it's fair for this proposal to close all the STEMs, science, technology, engineering, and math program in universities. I'm an educator. I don't think we should abolish those programs, and we abolish or destroy those education just because one group cannot perform better than another group. Right? I don't think that's correct, and this is not. It's against intelligence. It's against wisdom, and it's not fair. Right? It's not truthful. It's not compassionate. It's not tolerant. So it's against the true nature of our universe. So I don't think it's sustainable. Okay? I'm not discriminating anyone against anyone. I'm an educator. I love my students. I love my fellow faculty members. I'm a teacher. My teaching philosophy, I follow Confucius education for all. I believe everyone, black and white, Asian, Latinos, we all have the right to good education, and also follow Plato's that we have to have rational discussion of everything, even controversial issues, in order to come to conclusion, peaceful conclusion. We cannot resort to violence by any means. Okay? And I also follow truth, compassion, and tolerance of Falun Dafa, the ancient meditation cultivation practice from China that I have been practicing. And I have, as I said, I have many, many students who are African Americans. I love them and they love me. We respect each other. And I have students from black, white, Asian, everyone. Right? And even I don't believe this chaotic situation is good for African Americans. It's not good for them. There's a survey about the general overall Americans' view of black people. Right? After this riot, actually only 6% of Americans respect black people more after this event, and 94% actually had more of a negative view on African Americans. I don't think that's what the African American fellow citizens want to have upon themselves. Okay? So for this riots and burglary and or looting, I think American people are not happy with that, and even including African American people, good law-abiding citizens of America, all of us, right? There's a majority here, silent majority. We're watching, and our heart is bleeding, and we're praying, in our mind. And but I found something quite interesting. My fellow Americans, you might have heard about the Great Cultural Revolution, right? That took place between 1966 and 1976 in China, initiated by Chinese communists. We call it 10 years of havoc. Okay? For those of us from China, like me, we experienced part of the Great Cultural Revolution by Mao Zedong. We realize this right we have in America today is actually quite similar to the Cultural Revolution in China 30 years ago. Okay? You see that when the Chinese communists started the Great Cultural Revolution, Mao Zedong started the Great Cultural Revolution, they destroyed the court system, the police, and the prosecution's office, and the court. And see now what we have seen now? We have the rioters, the leftists, the extremists, the anarchists. They are defunding our police. They're trying to dissolve our police. Right? We are in the middle of a riot. How can you dissolve or uh, disband the police right now? You cannot do that. You put innocent people in jeopardy and the risk. Right? And then you're really letting those looters to go free, go free will. That's not what a government should do. And it's really just like the great cultural revolution of China is reappearing in on American soil. Yeah? During the Cultural Revolution, the Chinese communists they destroyed the Confucius Temple, burned ancient literatures, books, and destroyed much of Chinese culture. I think that some rioters here in America and England, they're doing the same thing. They tore down all those ancient statues, right? Even those people who actually helped with the black people, right? They burn bookstores, right? They destroy media. Right? In China, they had in Cultural Revolution, the communists forced people to pledge allegiance to Chinese communists. Right? Everyone has to show obedience. Now we're seeing that the people are asked or forced to be obedient, to repent, to wash their hands, to kiss towards their feet, or kiss their feet on other people. They even took down, good movies, America, like Gone with the Wind, from the shelves, right? And some of we're losing part of the history, from American history and Western history. Right? That's what the Chinese communists did too. That's what they said also. The Chinese communists wanted, during Cultural Revolution, they want to destroy the old world and build a new world. Destroy the old world and build a new one. And the leftists we have today, they stormed into the city hall of Seattle, right? They occupied 7 blocks of the city, 7 city blocks, and they built their own country, basically, a country within a country, right? They armed themselves. They don't allow police to come in, to go in. Okay? I don't believe that's right. Okay, and if you think about this American version of Cultural Revolution, if it's similar indeed to the Chinese version of Cultural Revolution, now who is behind that? In China, it was the communist, right? It was a Mao Zedong. It is exactly, I think exactly the same things happening in America today. This is the Marxist, the communist, the leftist, and they are destroying the civilizations in the East and the West. They're introducing chaos and disorder. Right? They want to use the proletarian revolution to seize power, so they can use Marxism to rule the world, rule the country. Right? Karl Marx, 100 years ago, called for all the proletarians of the world unite. Right? That's what he said. And 100 years later, after so much damage and the destroyment of the world, I think the global communists are united again right now to attack the world. Okay? So basically, I just read this letter by Archbishop Carlo Maria Viganò, and he wrote a letter to President Trump. He's saying that you can go to the letter and read yourself, right? He's basically saying the eternal fight between good and evil is ongoing. And I agree with him. I think there's an eternal fight between the communists and the good people, good conscience of the world is ongoing. And if you look at the rioters, the looters, and those leftists in their parade, they're holding the pictures of Karl Marx, Engels, Lenin, Stalin, and Mao. That's what they follow. Okay, and we are actually in grave danger. For someone who from a communist country, I realize, we are really in grave danger right now. Thank you for watching.